Tea time. Welcome everybody, Souldin of the Grin Brothers here, and it's time for another episode of Tea Time. Now then, this Tea Time is a kind of follow-up to another Tea Time I made regarding Super Smash Bros. So it is suggested you watch the previous Smash Bros video I recently made as a Tea Time. It is not necessary, but it's recommended just to get my thoughts on the series of Smash Bros currently. Without further ado though, let's move on to the tea first of all. And today's tea for this tea time is green tea pomegranate from the English tea shop. Found a little health store which sold it, and when I went out with my grandparents, and decided to pick it up. Let's see here, anything specific for it. Let's check the back of the package. An aromatic infusion of zesty ripe pomegranate, sweet rose petals, and fair trade green tea. Tea brewing time is just 2 to 3 minutes, which is what I've done. Loving, caring tea seeks perfect partner. Ideal partner. Someone who is looking to excite their taste buds, not afraid to try new things, passionate about tea and only dreams of the finest ingredients, likes to be healthy or has the desire to be healthier, and is looking for a long and loving relationship. I think that might be just the general English tea shop sort of message rather than specifically for this tea, but hey, that's what it says. Whoops. And I've got the tea ready, so as you already know, today's tea time is going to be concerning Super Smash Bros. I think I may have alluded to this within the previous Super Smash Bros. Related tea time, wherein I, in that tea time, just went over my thoughts over the series as a whole, and why I tend to talk about Smash Bros. With a dejected tone nowadays, despite how Super Smash Bros. Brawl is my 4th favourite video game of all time. But this tea time I felt I needed to do that tea time in order to explain my thoughts on the series, in order to make this upcoming tea time make a bit more sense, which, hey, everyone's doing a who they want in Smash Bros. Thing, so I'm doing a kind of thing like that. This is a top 6 characters I want in Smash, I guess, but more its reason, I guess it's like characters in Smash to grab my interest or something like that. I'll find a short, snappier title, but basically, I don't have any interest in the upcoming Super Smash Bros. Unless they do a bunch of things, basically, unless there's certain elements that they've changed to grab my interest. As various changes to, like including an adventure mode like Subspace Emissary, or at least something much more detailed than the classic mode / Smash Tour that they had for the Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. A proper sort of little adventure, or individual adventures, stuff like that. Improvements to the stages, because like the stages in Smash Bros. Wii U was chaotic beyond even Brawl, and stuff like that. Basically, there's lots of gameplay little twerks I'd like to see done to grab my interest. But of course, one of the most prominent aspects about Smash Bros. Is the roster. And whilst I was not a fan of Super Smash Bros. Wii U's roster and the direction it is heading, there are still characters I wouldn't mind seeing in Smash Bros. And when I was thinking about it, like back in the day when I was excited for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, back after I came off of Super Smash Bros. Brawl, so it's like I could play my 4th favourite video game of all time. I am pumped for this upcoming Smash Bros. I made a top 50 characters I wanted in Smash Bros. List. Not all of them all at once, but like my personal favourite sort of picks. But nowadays, I'm just so dejected of Smash Bros. That really, there's only 6 character inclusions they could possibly do that would basically have me sort of look up from my whatever other game I'm playing and go, I might play a few rounds, so see about that, or I'd like to try this character out. And so, this is my top 6 characters that will actually make me give anything of a darn in Smash that they could add as new characters for the Super Smash Bros. For Switch, which may or may not be a port or not. Who knows at this point. So let's begin with number 6. And this is a bit of a weird one because it's more to do with what the character introduction would mean as a whole, though I feel the character itself could also have a lot of elements to it. Number 6 is unlikely because the franchise is something that Nintendo wants to keep forgetting about. After all, the franchise isn't Mario Kart. And that is, number 6 is Black Shadow from F-Zero. Now, as you know, the main reason to want Black Shadow is simple. Ganondorf is a clone in Smash Bros. Ganondorf, one of Nintendo's most prominent and interesting villains, is just a clone of Captain Falcon. It's been an insult to the character for a long time, and Sakurai has stated, in his weird hypocritical ways about being true to the characters and such, yet leaving Ganondorf as a clone, that he wouldn't want to change Ganondorf because it would upset the fans of his playstyle. Well, in that case, there's a simple solution. Give that playstyle or that moveset to someone else. And in this case, there's Black Shadow. Now, that isn't to say that Black Shadow can't have unique things to him. After all, there's a few things that Ganondorf currently has which I feel suits him. Ganondorf's forward B suits Ganondorf to a T. So in that case, even if you poured the moveset to Black Shadow, you'd think, well, what about a new forward B sort of thing? And, there's things that Black Shadow can do. For instance, he's got 2 giant horns on his head. Some sort of charge attack would make sense, maybe even in his regular thing. And, because of how long the horns are compared to Ganondorf's sort of shoulder charge, Black Shadow in his sort of charge would have a longer reach to him. Black Shadow was a racer, which if I remember correctly, his car has not very good acceleration, but amazing top speed, his Black Bull. So in that case, why not have that as an element into Black Shadow's sort of characteristic? He starts off the slowest character in the game, but he can build up to great amounts of speed, so long as he isn't hit, interrupting his movement. So long as he keeps moving, and eventually he can become insanely fast on the battlefield, and that would be interesting, because you've got a really fast, powerful heavyweight. Of course, the moment he gets stopped by an attack, he goes back to being the slowest character again. So I think that would be an interesting mechanic. And, little things like the bomb he put onto Captain Falcon's car, being able to have Blood Shadow pop out of his shadow, of Black Bull's shadow to... Was it? No, Blood Falcon. Why Black Shadow? What? Oh yeah, Blood Falcon sort of popping up, giving Black Shadow a hand. Or the little... Black Shadow has like electric powers. He can bind people in these weird little electric chains he did to Captain Falcon. And most of it is based off F-Zero GX, which is a perfect point to start. But you can also base it off his vehicle itself, like I suggested with, basing his a little speed gimmick off the Black Bull. But of course, the main reason is for finally give Ganondorf a original moveset. Doing that would certainly have me pop up, because it'd mean, hey, a new villain is added into Smash Bros. F-Zero gets a bit more love and attention, which increases the chance of a new game. And Ganondorf is decloned and gets to properly represent himself in Smash Bros. Number 5. Already breaking the idea of a newcomer here. Again, these first two are kind of really weird picks in terms of what would get me to perk up. But let's say this was the saddest loss of every single lost character in Smash Bros. For me. Return Ice Climbers. Ice Climbers, whilst it's debatable as to whether they should have been added in Smash Bros., they have only 2 games, and one of those is a Versus arcade port of the original game, just with extra things. And a lot of their moveset thing, some of their moveset thing is a bit iffy in terms of saying, is that a thing? Is that really true to their character? But on the other hand, Ice Climbers was an incredibly unique mechanic, and honestly, I love the pair of them. Popo and Nana are just really nice designs, and there's a lot of charm to them. And I really disliked how a series lost its representation in Smash Bros. That was just... I could understand a character sort of loop going away sort of thing. Mewtwo going away, yeah, fair enough. But, the Pokemon trainer going, really annoying to lose such a unique mechanic. But hey, Pokemon is still represented. Ice Climbers, though, all they had left in it was a polar bear as a random enemy in the little Smash Bros. 3DS minigame mode. No Ice Climbers representation in the playable roster anymore. And that's a real shame. I don't think I need to go into too much detail as to why I think Ice Climbers should return. It's like they were removed from the Super Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS because of 3DS limitations. Something Rafi warned me about, but I didn't pay attention to him on it. And it just sucks that Sakurai would have that little force... Well, his team as a whole would have that little foresight in thinking, yeah, we're putting it on the 3DS version. Can the 3DS version even handle all the characters? And it turns out, no, because they had to get rid of the Ice Climbers and they gimped a bunch of other characters by removing the uniqueness of them, by removing their transformations and such. And so, yeah, 5th, the thing that will let me perk up and think, yeah, I want to pay attention to that is Ice Climbers returning. Number 4. This fellow was already on my top sort of 10 favourite sort of characters I'd like to see in Super Smash Bros. But recently he's just become more prominent, helped by the fact that he's got a new game coming out quite soon. And in general, I just want to see the series get more love. When I saw this character, I immediately thought, oh man, he looks perfect Super Smash Bros. And of course now he's got 3 games to back him up on it. That is Dylan from Dylan's Rolling Western. Dylan's an armadillo that can roll. That would not make him a Sonic clone though, because after he hits with a roll, he can either roll forward or he can ping off of him and then start slashing it with his claws. He can burrow underground. He can do little anger strikes or thing. He's sort of like charge up attacks. He can grind on opponents whilst in his rolling ball form. And more uniquely enough, His game involves tower defense. Why not with his down B start building a tower? Now he's got a little turret which starts shooting opponents. That's an interesting thing. I mean, the whole point then for his moveset then is you use B to start up his roll and use his rolling to get about the stage and then get to various points of the stage so that you can start building towers for the most optimal positions. You know, having a character that moves about to get the right positions in order to lay out the right traps. And I think that'd be really cool. And as I said, Dylan's Rolling Western has been mostly 3DS eShop games. I think the most recent one may actually be getting a physical release in certain areas. But it's a series that's been started on the 3DS. Felt was a great sort of character to it. It's a lovely, unique Western setting compared to the other Nintendo ones. Because no other Nintendo character has a Western setting aside from Sheriff, which I doubt they're bringing Sheriff back anytime soon. Yeah, lovely, unique sort of setting. He's just a character design with a lot of charm to him. And clearly the people who work on the game have a lot of love because they've been cranking out those Dylan's games with a lot of dedication to them. And in general, he's got all the elements needed to just be a character in Smash Bros. From the first game alone, he had all the sort of things. Sort of all the potential for a moveset and such, and he just feels like he'd fit right in alongside the other characters. He is an assist trophy in Super Smash Bros. Wii U, and I remember there was a Super Smash Bros. Wii U tournament or presentation thing at E3 when they were sort of hyping up the game, and I got really annoyed because the announcer didn't know who Dylan was when Dylan appeared. He knew all this sort of like gameplay, sort of like fine game trivia sort of facts, but not who Dylan was, and that annoyed me. But yeah, number 4, my 4th most wanted character for Smash Bros, or rather the character that would make me go, hey, I want to try this guy out for a bit, I guess I'll play a few rounds, is Dylan. From Dylan's Rolling Western. Now then, before I move on to number 3, number 2, and number 1, because I waited quite a bit before having it, I'm going to try this green tea pomegranate. Or green tea with pomegranate. One of the two. I think I've had a pomegranate tea before, but I think it went out of date a bit first, and I think it was a tea leaf tea only, but this one is fresh. Smells nice. It's smelling a little bit sweeter now that I've just let it sit for a bit. That is a little disappointing. I think I need to change up the brew time. No, can't be. I had that in for 3 minutes exactly. The green tea's strong, but the pomegranate, despite how well it smells of pomegranate, the pomegranate tastes really weak. The green tea bit's okay. A little bit bitter. But I guess it's because I was expecting the pomegranate sweetness to take some of the edge off of it, and I'm not really tasting much pomegranate. I can smell it. Not tasting much of it. It says to wait until the temperature went to 80 degrees on the kettle first. I didn't wait that long, I don't think. I only waited about 5-6 minutes. I've had to do this tea time before midnight. I'd like to do so, at least. So maybe that's why the pomegranate flavour isn't that strong. Yeah, so a little bit disappointing as a pomegranate tea, but I'll give it another shot to try to see if I can add some thoughts to it. Whether I made a mistake in the tea making process. But as a green tea, well, it tastes like a green tea. Decent enough. No serene jasmine, but hey, it'll do. So then, back to what I was saying. Characters for Super Smash Bros. Will get me sort of like, perk up my attention. Now, something I want to bring up is how I don't care too much for third-party characters. Whilst there are certainly third-party characters who would think, oh man, those would be cool. Sonic, of course, had me excited in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Bomberman would have me sort of like, ooh... Shantae would be a pretty cool addition. There'd be third-party characters which are like, okay. The problem is that to me, Smash Bros. Is a celebration of Nintendo history, and Nintendo specifically, and to give light to a lot of the more obscure Nintendo characters, and I feel the third-party characters just detract from it, and people just end up focusing so much more on them, and it's disappointing that. This character, I'm going to suggest then, is in an interesting position, because they are made by a third-party company, and some of their games are fully owned by them. But Nintendo also co-owns the franchise. And so any future games have to come out through Nintendo, and the character itself has to be specifically related to Nintendo. This one is also a case of, well, technically the character's only got one appearance, but you know what? Sakurai doesn't care about his rules of what characters, should be added to Smash Bros. So, why should I care? having had Raffi play through the game, that there's a certain character that I would love to see in Smash Bros. Because, hey, I would love my waifu to be in Smash Bros. Yuri Kozukata from Project Zero, Maiden of Blackwater, known as Fatal Frame, Maiden of Blackwater, and known as like Zero something Raven Head, Thingamajiggy Water stuff. Yes, but Yuri Kozukata, the protagonist from the latest Project Zero game, or Fatal Frame game if you're American, is a character that would certainly, grab my attention for Super Smash Bros. She could have a pretty cool mechanic with the camera. Any of the sort of Fatal Frame characters could, admittedly, and I know the Project Zero 2 protagonist is probably the most popular one. However, of course, waifu bias here, so Project Zero 5, and also it was released the most recent one. Different mechanics. The camera sort of flash to do damage. You can change what lens is, properly with the down B, stuff like that. Heck, I thought of a pretty unique idea in having the, specific for Yuri Kozukata, in having the Fatal Glance actually be a technique. Given it is forcing people to go through their own memories as well. So sort of forward B, or even a grab as just a slow reach out, which can do a surprising amount of damage as an attack, maybe stun the opponent a bit as well. Something like that would be pretty cool. Recovery is the hardest one to think of, but I was thinking of something like how you could see the path people have taken, the sort of little ghost, the little thing they did, the sort of little ghost travel thing to make it easier for you to tell which direction you're supposed to go. Have it like that, and then Yuri sort of just follows it along. Be a bit weird, her following it along through air, but hey, it's Smash Bros. You kind of have to have the excuse for why every character can do a lot of the things they do. But yeah, of course, not hardly likely, and kind of goes against most of my rules usually, but you know what? This is about the characters that would get me perk up and interested in Smash Bros. For Switch, and I gotta say, Yuri Kozukata being in Super Smash Bros. Switch would certainly perk up my interest. Number 2 is the controversial pick, which has stayed on here for quite a while. When in the lead up to Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, only one of my characters got in that I wanted, that being Little Mac. So, yay. He was number 3 on my list. My number 2 and my number 1 haven't changed since days of old. And my number 2 is a controversial pick because Sakurai is inconsistent. He wants to be accurate to the characters, and then there's Ganondorf and Wario and Marth and all these other extra Marths alongside regular Marth. And I just don't believe him on this, but you know what? A character who should frankly be in Smash Bros. Because he's such a prominent villain, he has such a good legacy to him, and the Metroid series deserves another rep. My second choice is, of course, Ridley. Ridley should be in Smash Bros. It's a no-brainer. King K. Rool should also be in Smash Bros. But when it comes to villains I particularly like, Ridley just has an amazing design to him. I feel there's a lot of potential in his moveset. The way his fireball can work differently, grapples and grabs and sort of airborne attacks. Him being a particularly air-based fire and using his long tail for particular devastating reach. And of course, stuff like the Mecha Ridley can be utilised in a Final Smash or such. And Ridley is such a cool villain, and design and abilities, and how he ties into Samus. He never says a word, and he still comes across as threatening and ominous, and yet still gives off a little slight intelligent aspect to him as well. And yeah, come on. The size argument is stupid because the characters get changed up for Smash Bros. All the time just to cram them in however the Sakurai well pleases to be. So you know what? Just get Ridley in there. It would be amazing. People like to say, oh, you're running out of prominent characters, prominent villains to add in. Well, you end when you got Ridley on the sideline still. Also King K. Rool, but he's not one that particularly interests me. But dear gosh, he's also in the sideline waiting. So like, hey, come on, you need a villain. Okay, and then we move on to number 1. Those of you who've checked out my commissions folder in DeviantArt at the very bottom will have noticed a certain character who you may not be familiar with. And from my previous Tea Times, one of my most popular ones was a video celebrating a certain game's 20th anniversary, and I mentioned how I wanted this character in Super Smash Bros. My number 1 choice for Super Smash Bros. Remains, ever since Brawl times, Lip from Panel D Pon. Who is Lip from Panel D Pon, you may ask? Lip is the Flower Fairy, a Nintendo character and lead protagonist of a game known as Panel D Pon. It was known as the Puzzle League series overall, and Panel D Pon has a very strange and awkward history because Lip has never technically left Japan. Lip has had certain cameo appearances were, like the Pokemon Puzzle Challenge game. Lip was featured in that. It was originally going to be a Panel D Pond game. You can access the Panel D Pond player and see Lip in that. But basically what happened is the Panel D Pond was made as a really cool SNES puzzle game. And then when it was being ported over to America and Europe, apparently someone was like, oh no, the flowery girls and everything won't sell to everyone. We need to make it appeal more to boys. So they replaced all the characters with Yoshi. Yeah, just made a Yoshi-themed game, and Yoshi's Island-themed game. That still annoys me. Lip has had many appearances throughout the years, but she's never had a true appearance outside of Japan. But honestly, she's such a cool character. She's got great potential both in terms of her flower aspects, the little creatures that can help her fly, running along the Rainbow Road. The lipstick item, as you are maybe familiar with in Smash Bros, has a in-game mechanic of, putting the flower on the head and draining health, so she could have that. Or you can actually base it on the puzzle mechanic. Her being able to drop a garbage block upon an opponent, her setting up blocks, clearing a line, stuff like that. You can actually make a puzzle-focused mechanic as well. There's a lot of options for Lip. Lip has a ton of potential, as well as just being a really cool character. Like, she's awesome. Have a look. Go look her up. She is awesome. And if she popped up, like, that would have me screaming with joy. Even though Smash Bros. Is, just gone down in my heart. Just gone down in my terms of appreciation a lot. If Lip appeared in Super Smash Bros. For Switch, I would definitely have to play it just to try her out. That would be a definite must. So those are my top 6 characters that would get me interested in Super Smash Bros. They're my top 6 most wanted, and although I don't care too much for Smash Bros, as noted, these are the ones that would get me to at least trying the game out. So then, tell me, please feel free to share your thoughts. What 6 characters or more would you like to see in Super Smash Bros? And are you looking forward to the upcoming Super Smash Bros. On Switch? Or are you just kind of so dejected with the series at this point that you don't really care at all? Unless certain things are done to really grab your interest once again. Again, I always love to see your opinions. I'd love to discuss with you about them. But for now, cheer everyone!